All right, welcome to episode 122 of the Permaculture PIMPcast, the only PIMPcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. And remember, PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. How you doing, son?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a long day, been getting a whole lot done and doing a whole lot. And we're going to get into some of that today. Remember, as always, this episode brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Heaven's Harvest, y'all. 10% off with promo code PERMA. Look, I mean, folks, we're getting into some weird territory right now. Things are strange. In fact, we're going to cover a lot of how strange it is in this main topic. Folks, you're going to want to stick around today. And part of it has to do with preparedness. Well, Heaven's Harvest is designed for all of your preparedness needs. That's why we reached out to them. Good Christian folks. They run that place over there, and you get a discount with promo code PERMA, 10% off. All right. So if you would like to also tip a pimp, go check us out on the Fountain app. You can listen to all your podcasts over there. And if you'd like, you can drop some sets on a PIMP. That's what I'm talking about. Well, son, it's been an interesting couple of, oh man, it's been crazy. You've been gone. You just got back.
Yeah. I was over in Arizona doing consultations, and just to put a stamp on the need of an outside person or like an experienced person or something like that to look at your property before you get started. There were two wonderful people. They're awesome people. I won't mention them by name or anything. Keep them anonymous. They've never done homesteading or anything like that. They have zero experience as far as farming or gardening or anything like that goes. And they were moving from California and purchased land in Arizona. Now, for them to even get started growing food in this area is going to cost them a minimum of $60,000 just to get power and water to the location. This is raw land, all that type of stuff. They hired me to come out there and do like an order of operations for them. And my recommendation, honestly, was to move to a different location. They hadn't finalized the purchase or anything like that yet. But it honestly, y'all, for the people that are just getting into this, raw land in a desolate location, in a very arid location, I don't think is a very good start for a lot of people. Especially in that kind of area where your rain event happens like once a year or twice a year, and that's all you get. On the way out to the property, there's a sign that says no services past this point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's to that. And that poor little rental car, I don't know how it made it on that washboard road, but it did. But yeah, guys, get somebody on the outside to look at your property first, even before you buy it. Ask somebody to come along with you that's farmed, or hire somebody to follow or help you out picking out property, something like that. Just make sure you have somebody experienced with you whenever you're going to check out the property, because they're going to see things, like I just said, they're going to see things that you're not going to see.
Sounds like some pretty intelligent people, because honestly, you probably saved them really in the long run hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because, you know, it's funny because when I was out there working in Safford, Arizona, there was a couple of, actually not more than a couple, I'd say, man, there was a good third of those people that were working on that project that were from California. And one of them had actually escaped from California into Arizona. Now, keep in mind, this guy had been doing this for a long, long time. And I honestly wouldn't even consider, folks, if you are not already very well versed in that kind of environment, there's no way on earth I would start there.
Yeah.
Even as a person that's got lots and lots of experience, lots of years behind us, it would be a challenge for us.
Like, no exaggeration, what it would take them, like what they would accomplish in 5 to 7 years, they could accomplish in an area like this in literally a season.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, it might even be a decade, really.
I'm saying like 5 to 7, just to be. I mean, they would get some food production by then. I would assume.
I just don't. I mean, it's when you're already doing this kind of work, the deck's already stacked against you.
Right.
I mean, we got some anomalies going on around here with the tomatoes, with a couple of those trees down there.
Yeah.
And there's other people having this same exact problems now. we're an old hand on how to do a lot of this stuff. And man, you know what? Kudos to them, because honestly, most people, seriously, most people would be, and we know some that would have spent, and I quote, $100,000 on a dry well, and then paid to get it to, and then it was wet, and it was salt water.
Yep.
And it was not even usable. $100,000 when all he had to do was go to the guy next door and ask, how are y'all doing your wells out here? Because everybody was using a tile well.
Yeah, 30-foot tile well.
30-foot tile well that you only had to go down 30 feet. And that's how everybody around there was doing it. But he thinks because of his degrees, he's got more degrees than a thermometer, but not a whole lot of common sense.
They were awesome clients. I mean, these are the people that, for the definition of buying a consultation and not a confirmation. And I mean, at first they were kind of devastated, because they just thought that they had this property. It was 40 acres. They got it for a really good price. They thought that they found, Eden, basically.
Well, son, I'm proud of your ethic, because there's so many other people that would have said, let's go ahead and go with it.
Well, I was thinking about saying, hey, you want to go ahead and pay me before I tell you what you think? Tell you what I think?
No, I mean, honestly, they saved money in the deal. They really did.
Right.
And you're not cheap, and, nobody with your qualifications and background is, but in fact, there's not many people that have your background. But the point being is that, man, so many people would have just drove on and said, okay, well, here's how we would do it. You saved them a ton of money, because the other people would have just gone on and tickled their ears. And believe it or not, that's actually something I want to get into. Well, I'm proud of you, son.
Well, thanks. That wasn't the point of bringing it up. The point was to drive home the fact that have somebody on the outside look at your property. Have somebody experienced look at your property.
Do that, folks. I mean it. All right, so some other farm news going on around here. Well, guess who's an author now? Bam. Permaculture Pimp Daddy. Okay, we got a new book. It's finally out. It's on the streets, so to speak. We're going to have a link to the website. Son, you want to tell them how they can get it?
It's linked down below. If you've looked at the description box in the past, since we did the interview with Matt, you'll see it linked down in the description box. It's Scrapsteading. Check it out.
Scrapsteading, yeah. Co-author with my friend Matt Hunley, if you heard him in that interview. We're also going to do a little version of it on YouTube where we go into a little more detail. And the whole premise behind this book, y'all, is to just give a snapshot, especially to like the folks you're talking about right there, the ones you just gave a consultation to. It's for all the people that are getting into this space and really don't know what resources are available. The book couldn't have come out at a better time just based on the fact. In fact, I got another couple of books I'm in the works of, like a solo job myself, because I'm trying to cover the things that are going to be most helpful for people in these times. Things that are going on right now. So anyway.
Are you doing signed copies?
Yeah, not just yet. We're going to have those. We got them ordered. They're on the way. And, we're going to see what we can do in terms of those other, as far as signed copies and stuff like that. Folks, it's really, I'll be honest with you. The biggest motive on this thing is to really put foot to butt for all these people that are getting into this space, have limited means, because this book was written from the perspective of a couple of broke people that have done it.
Yeah.
And Matt, don't let his numbers on YouTube dissuade anybody, because honestly, if you know his full story and what he did, basically taking a revamped crack house, turning it into something, doing all this on a musician's pay, which isn't a whole lot. He's a professional musician, but they don't get paid a whole lot. So if he can do it, I can do it. And we both came from, backgrounds that weren't necessarily steeped in this. Trust me, you can do it. Like Joel Salatin says, you can farm. You really can. All right. So in addition to a new book, we got a new website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot better.
It does. We actually... So many people have just basically gone to our old website and they're like, come on, man. Because, we're so utilitarian around here.
There's buttons that are overlapped. Not anymore, but there were buttons that were overlapped.
Yeah. Truth of it is, we just don't I'll put it this way. If you were to come into my house, there's no decorations on the wall. There's nothing. We still haven't even decorated this house, and we've been living here almost 4 years.
The only decorations that are up are the ones that were either in the house whenever we moved in, or the ones that either Emily or Kendra have put up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
And this sign, I put this up.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in the pantheon of the things we find important. Just me, you, and your mom just ain't really. I mean, I love a beautiful landscape. I can design that. But as far as these other things that other people find important, it's just funny because everybody on your mom's side of your family, your grandma, is a design genius.
Yeah.
Your aunt, she has it too on your mom's side. Kendra has it to a certain extent. I mean, that gene was completely lost in Michelle. You ain't got it.
Nope.
I ain't got it. Just like I don't have the rhythm gene from that dark side of my family. I can't dance. Son, you didn't have a chance.
No, Dad, if they want to see you dance, they can actually see that video. It's on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
The end of the Proof Permaculture Works video. Yeah, if you check out the end of that video, you'll see Dad over there dancing.
Yeah, well, I'm doing my deep dance. That's what that was. So anyway, new book, new website. And I got to tell y'all what I've been doing here lately. I'm not even going to kid you, man. I don't know what's been going on, but I've been battling this anxiety as of late. Don't know where it's come from. I've all but given up coffee. I mean, let me back that up a little bit. Eric Sider hooked me up with a class, or no, it wasn't where I got it from. I got it from another class where I did the speed reading, and I recommended it a while back. He gets a doctor on there. He's talking about all these other things. He's talking about your sleep and what you ought to do. And he made this suggestion that you shouldn't have coffee until like 3 hours after you wake up. I'll be honest with you. That's one of the hardest changes. Man, that was harder than I thought it was going to be.
Well, yeah, getting off mom's coffee is like getting off cocaine, Dad.
And y'all have no idea what that coffee's like. I mean,
She doesn't count scoops or measure or anything like that. She just fills up the filter.
Pretty much.
She just fills it up. Fills it up. She knows like the point where which it'll start overflowing into the pot, and then she just cups back a little bit.
I knew we had problems with the coffee around here when now she's getting
panic attacks.
Well, when I came back from Arizona, I was getting panic attacks, and I'm like, man, what is going on here? Well, that coffee's that strong. Well, I remember one time when I was working on this powerhouse up in Iatan, Missouri. And it was a coal-fired powerhouse. And, man, we had it made on top of this powerhouse. So we had this little trailer that they had up there where we would take our breaks and whatnot. Man, we had everything. We had a deep fryer up in there. We had things that should have been illegal, man. We were doing things on top of this powerhouse. But when you get a bunch of guys together and they're just going to do stuff. Anyway, we're in there and we're all one-upping each other on who was going to do breakfast. So we had the apprentices doing the breakfast. One apprentice I remember made pancakes for everybody. And we're talking like 10 guys on this crew. So the next apprentice, it's his turn. So he makes pancakes and sausage. Man, before you go up, man, we got like a full straight-up breakfast to the point where nobody's even wanting to go back to work. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll chip in on doing the coffee. So I wasn't drinking any of the coffee there. I wasn't. I would usually bring mine, but I just felt like I had to help out. So I remember my friend Brent, he's like, so you going to do the coffee? I said, yeah, I'll take care of it. So I get in a little bit early, and I made it like your mom makes it. I fill that stuff plumb up to the top. I remember him sitting across the table from me, and he takes a sip of that coffee. It was cooled off quite a bit, so he took a big gulp of it, and he spit it right back in that cup. He said, man, what did you do to that coffee? I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, and then somebody else said, yeah, man, what's wrong with that coffee? Next thing I know, the whole table is losing their minds. I didn't know that everybody else didn't drink coffee this way.
Yeah.
And so they weren't happy with me. But I tell you what, I got them even more because I said, okay, I'll get it right. I found out the recipe, and then I mixed in, I don't know where I got this joke from, but I think I got it from you. I put them on decaf. Over the week, I titrated them all the way down to decaf. So I had these guys.
You get that from me.
I don't know where I got it from, dude, but I've done a lot of crazy practical jokes. I got all these boys on decaf. And I did another practical joke a while ago. I remember there was this jerk at Unilever, and believe me, he probably hisses every time he hears my name. I remember painting his office one time with buttermilk, and when it was sour, dude, he turned that office upside down trying to figure out where that smell came from, and it was right there on the walls. But this guy was, of all the people I've ever worked with, man, he was the only guy ever. Well, there was a couple of them I wanted to put my hands on. But anyway, revenge is best when it's served up cold or stinky. But anyway, between the coffee, I just to finish that point, I had these guys, all squared away on decaf, and I kind of eased off,
Yeah.
So I got off. I was kind of titrating it all the way down. So they were on decaf for a good solid week, and then I put them back on that high octane, put them back on regular coffee. Boy, I'm giving away all my practical joke trips. But anyway, I had these boys tripping. I'm telling you what, man, the foreman was like, I don't know what's going on with production around here, but you boys are knocking it out of the park. Anyway, some of my old buddies from back in the day, they're probably laughing right now because I've done a lot of practical jokes.
Some of them might be wondering, oh, that's what happened.
Hey, you know what, dude? There was on this same job, now this is a union job, y'all. On this same job, man, I know I'm going way far afield, but I got to say this real quick. I got some letterhead from the company we were working for, and I had your mom write up a letter on the computer saying, hey, look, basically, we've done these jobs all over the world now. Basically, if you don't have these guys' money by Friday, it's on. Dude, you're going to have an insurrection on your hand. Well, one time, I sat here and had to write it up saying, look, hey, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't know, maybe it's the statute of limitations are up.
Yeah,
so,
Dad, I think you done already did.
Yeah, Kiewit, yeah, I'm your man. I'm the one that did it. So I had to write up, look, hey, we're changing a bunch of stuff around here. First of all, you boys ain't getting paid weekly. We're going to pay you bi-monthly on the 1st and 15th. This has worked extremely well in jobs we've done in New Delhi, India. I basically listed a whole bunch of third world countries, man. And I got in like 2 hours early and I stuck them on all the break tables. Man, I must have spent, dude, I was wore out because this was a massive job. And I went into every brake trailer I could find and I put that thing on there, man. Next thing I know, I shut that. Dude, these guys were losing their ever-loving mind. The business manager comes out there. He says, everybody calm down. Y'all been had. Oh, man, I got I'll be honest with y'all. One of my guilty pleasures is, you know what? I've been on the receiving end of some pretty good practical jokes too, but I've been known to pull some too. So yeah, and I actually did that at the Corvette plant a while too. So I shut that one down too. All in good fun. Anyway, have no idea. So this is a show about nothing, I guess. So as on another note,
it all started off coffee, mom's coffee.
Yeah. So that's how it always begins. So, I'll just tell you what I've been doing with dealing with this anxiety. That's where I was going. Folks, I've been, binge listening to Pastor Lon, I'll be honest with you. For the longest time, you get tied up in what you're doing, and I'm like, okay, ain't really got a whole lot of time for whole lot of anything else, and then you find yourself slipping. And that's part of what I was doing, I think, and then I'm having these unexplained panic. I'm getting rid of coffee. It just ain't making no sense to me, and then I was listening to Pastor David Langford. Go check him out. They're suppressing him also, along with Pastor Lon. If you haven't checked out either one of them on YouTube, I think you should. These are both no-nonsense kind of preachers. If you're wanting your ears tickled like some of those guys you see on TV with those mega churches, these ain't the guys for you. But if you want to hear the truth and you want to hear it the way they say it, well, there's a reason. There's a reason we got Pastor Lon on here, and we're thankful to have him. We really are. And also everybody else that contributes, Eric, and also Chef Snow. So I was basically binge listening today as I was doing some work, and it was of a great help, a massive, massive help, and doing a lot of praying also, y'all, on my knees, because I don't know if anybody else is feeling it too, but man, I have no reason for this level of anxiety. I can't even understand it. But it's honestly listening to the word from their perspective and not thinking about me necessarily. I think of what it is or what my next project's going to be or what I'm working on. It's, like the Bible says, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So make sure you're doing that. And like I said, go over there, subscribe to Pastor Lon and also Pastor David Langford, Lankford, Voice of Evangelism. Check them out, both of them, y'all. You'll be glad you did. Okay, so other farm news, microscope work. Oh, man, getting some of that. It's been something of an uphill climb because I am doing 1,000 other things. You're also in the microscopy part of it, too.
Right. Mine's a little bit more delayed than yours, though. My guy is out. He's on vacation right now. So.
Yeah, but here's what I'm finding. And your mom's been warning me. You have got to study every single day. You got to be getting samples every single day, memorizing the procedures, doing all those things. So I'm kind of getting more foot to butt into that. I was up later last night messing with it. So I'm just going to keep on doing it. I'm going to keep on rocking. And remember I was talking about that foolish fear a while back. I'll be honest with you. I was almost dragging my feet at first because I'm reluctant to deal with the technology I have to deal with. I hate messing with computers. I do. I hate it. And then having to interface a computer with a microscope is something I didn't want to do. Well, I finally took the plunge and had your mom kind of walk me through it. And so I'm getting the understanding more and more. So folks, be praying for me.
Be praying for that computer, yo.
Yeah, you better hope that thing doesn't find out its aerodynamics, because I ain't too happy about it. But I'll tell you one thing that was uplifting today, as I was pulling in to do some of the work I was doing out and about today. Man, I heard from my old friend Justin. He was on a job I used to work at back in Texas. Wicked smart. One of those guys that I'm telling you, when he makes a prediction, I don't care what it is, football, fights, you name it, he's gonna get it. I remember him telling me Khabib was going to be something. I'm like, this guy's just another wrestler or whatever. Next thing you know, he's probably the greatest of all time, depending on whom you ask.
Yeah.
Without the controversy. And then there was like every single MMA fight back when I was watching that sort of thing, or had time to watch it. This dude would call it every single time, but he was also wicked smart, and he still is. And then we just kind of lost touch. You know, he was like a younger brother to me, and man, I just missed him. And it's like you find these people, y'all, where you feel like you got a kindred spirit there, and then somewhere along the way, you don't know how, you don't know why, everybody gets busy with life. And then next thing you know, when you finally do touch bases, it's like you never even, it was like the same thing that goes on with my Army buddies. It's like you never even, you catch up, but it's like you pick up where you left off.
Right.
And it's so awesome when you hear a friend that has moved on light years beyond where he was and will continue to do so. So want to give a shout out to my man, Dustin, and hopefully get him on the show one of these days. Get him on the show for something very, very different that I think he's going to do a whole lot to help a lot of people out there. Also, want to talk to some of that. I want to get some other young people on here because there's a lot of young people hitting me up.
Oh, good.
Like, hey, man, I'm in college. What do I do? Or I'm dealing with this. What do I do? I get a lot of that. So we're going to try to do the best we can to service a lot of the people that aren't being fed in terms of how to get into this space. William's going to be able to be a really good, I want to interview him actually and get to that point where we explain to all you people that are young, maybe you went to college and realized, oh man, I got robbed. And
me,
maybe
William? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Okay.
And a number of other people out there can maybe discuss these things, and all the people out there that are just getting out of the matrix or went to college and realized, oh man, I got a degree that I can't use. It ain't paying. You know, I can't do anything with this. And then now they've realized, hey, this is what their passion is. We need to cover those people, and we need to also explain that trades, I'll put it this way. ChatGPT, you can call me crazy all you want, but I guarantee you, ChatGPT will replace your MD before it does the person working on the gas line, before it does the electrician, the plumber, the pipe fitter, the insulator.
Your nurse.
Nurses, actually, yes. Your nurses will have more. That's what I'm saying. All these white-collar jobs that people seem to think are super highfalutin. ChatGPT and a lot of other things like it is going to allow some of these people to think they're at the higher end of the spectrum. Look, one of the biggest reasons why it's hard to get white-collar people to wake up to the realities of this world historically has been, and I don't know if it was William Forstchen or somebody else that pointed this out. It wasn't me. The fact that they have what they think is a high-paying job and they live in this world that they've constructed for themselves, they think that they're going to be the least affected when things happen, when really they are the people most affected when things happen. You can't skin a buck, run a trot line, you got issues, nephew. And those are the people least capable of doing it. But also, these high-end tech jobs for these people, look, man, maybe that's the reason why all these people I know in the permaculture came there from the tech environment. Maybe they saw this coming.
Yeah, maybe.
They seem to be the ones that were jumping on this thing long before everybody else started to get the memo. So with that said, y'all, we're about to get into my pastor, the homesteading pastor, Pastor Lon.
Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Lon. I got 3 verses of scripture for us today. It's in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 10. It says, "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God had before ordained that we should walk in them." And these scriptures here today, God wants us to realize that we're not saved by our works. We're saved by his amazing grace and by the blood of his Son, Jesus Christ. And we're not supposed to boast in ourselves, but rather boast in him. And we need to realize that we're his workmanship once we become born again. And therefore, if we have been born again, we should treat people the way we want to be treated and be about the Father's business, building the kingdom. So therefore, our salvation should be accompanied by good works.
Amen to all of that. Remember, check out Pastor Lon, homesteading pastor over there if you haven't already. Folks, I'm telling you, you better be prayed up from the feet up. And I mean that because, man, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I mean, y'all know what time it is. If you listen to this podcast, you definitely know what time it is. All right, so we're going to jump into the bad news, good news section. Man, right off the bat, people's voice, man, check this out, son. You can already see what's about to happen. And then I'm going to make the most viral video that's ever happened, at least on this YouTube channel. So check this out.
Oh, yeah, I know where this is going.
Yeah, so let's kind of, we ain't going to say what it is just yet, but Fauci declares that all unvaccinated, and this is capital, all unvaccinated citizens must be locked down this winter. And then if you look at the eyes on this guy, man, he just looks demonic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the guy, I would love to he-ho man slap that dude right where he stands. I mean, okay, so all the people that think MD, okay, Fauci's an MD. You know what? Mangala was an MD. There's a whole lot of MDs out there. It doesn't mean medical deity. So you can already see the stage being worked, and I'm seeing all these clowns wearing masks all of a sudden.
I don't want to he-ho man slap him. I want to do Andy Frisella's idea and the wood chipper plan. I want to go that route. But he also mentioned, like on one of his latest shows, using a gas wood chipper. I think we should use actually their own plans, their own ideas. I think we should use electric wood chippers. So that way they break down frequently. We have to stop and change the battery. They don't last very long.
Oh,
they
sorry,
get
nephew. We only got up to your knee.
Yeah. We're going to have to start this thing back over.
Yeah, but I'm also willing to work within the Constitution. I know it says no cruel and unusual punishment, but I think the Founding Fathers might have thought differently if they knew pedophiles were as prevalent as they are.
I see this as the only fitting punishment.
Well, I tell you what, for all the people they've murdered and the ones that are on their way out, but you can see the stage being set. They're already saying lockdowns this winter. Yeah, go ahead and keep me out of a shop. Like I said, you're going to see a viral video because I'm not playing around anymore. Wasn't playing around before. I made these people throw me out. I'm going to make it a very, very, very uncomfortable moment for them because whatever, in fact, you know, maybe it's just best because honestly, this whole COVID thing when it kicked off was honestly the most productive time of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, despite having to deal with these idiots, folks, this is, I mean, you can already see it happening. So just be ready. I'm seeing people wearing masks in the middle of summer, people that weren't wearing them. And I'm like, doesn't that smell good? I was at this one place. I won't say what it was. Doesn't that smell good? Oh, yeah, it does. I'm like, you can smell it right through that mask, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then of course they knew I was being a wise guy. So anyway, good news. It's bad news that's turning into good news. Dr. Mercola files lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase for debanking Mercola market employees. Okay, in a nutshell, they debanked Dr. Mercola, all of his employees, and their families.
Yeah. They got everybody.
Everybody, y'all. I'm talking, they got them all. You are seeing the handwriting on the wall. Believe me, this is all going to make sense when we get into the main topic today because it kind of builds on one another. I hope he goes in there and I hope he takes the pants right off of him, but we don't have a just court system. So anymore, you never know. But I am thankful that Dr. Mercola, I mean, he's a big name, dude. They've tried everything they can. In fact, I went to his website. He had 20% off everything wide on his site. So I got a bunch of stuff from there to support the man. Dr. Mercola's done a whole lot to help a whole lot of people. And there's a reason why they're trying to shut him down.
Right.
I'm sure he was part of their, quote, disinformation dozen. All right, so here's another piece of good news, and this one's kind of cool. To halt the ibis extinction, Australian man shows birds a new migration route with his ultralight, and it's working.
That's pretty cool.
So,
also, strictly Australian thing to do.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I just hope none of them birds get chopped up in the propeller, man.
I don't think they have. Do they have propellers?
Yeah, it's one of them things that you see flying over Asheville sometimes, man. I'd always.
Oh, is that? That's not what I was picturing. I was picturing the thing that gets like towed by the plane and then you just glide down.
No, that's just a glider.
Oh, okay.
This here, we see them all the time, man. I've been wanting to fly one of these. In fact, I need to get that done on the bucket list.
There was a guy in Tonganoxie, Kansas, who would fly that thing all the time.
Man, I think that is so cool. My luck, I'm just trying not to get mixed up in no power lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy, check this out. These birds, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but it's the coolest thing, man. I mean, an ibis or an ibis, whatever, it's nearly extinct. And so this guy is basically trying to teach these birds, okay, here's where you're supposed to go when it gets this time of year. See, I don't know, man. I'm just wondering because I thought instinctively they knew this. I didn't know this was something they had to see or learn. I thought it was just, but apparently, according to this article, these birds are picking it up. I mean, you know what? With all the things we're killing on this earth every day, with all the things we're killing, it's pretty awesome to hear somebody out there trying to save life. And now this is coming from a guy who does process animals. I don't have a jacket made out of bald eagle, you know, or red panda that Hulk Hogan choked out on my birthday as a liner, you know, nothing like that. I'm just saying that here you go. You got somebody out there trying to do good. And it's even part of what you learn when you learn a lot of this microscopy. Think about it. In most cases, your intent is not to kill anything. It's to just it's to favor your good guys.
Yeah, it's to hold a proxy war.
Yeah.
Let your good guys kill the stuff.
Well, no, it's not even that. In most cases, like, for example, I can take compost that may be marginal, and I put air in it through that bubbler, and I make a compost extract. The bad things that were in there that need an anaerobic environment can't live in that environment. So it's
that's called unaliving.
No,
that's called killing.
Well, no, I'm just making it, but I'm saying in terms of even your composting process, if you do it right, what we're trying to do is favor the good guys. So I see this guy doing it no other way.
That's cool.
I mean, I think, man, kudos that you even came up with something like that.
Well, the fact that he had the idea and then went and did it, I thought that was pretty cool.
And you better be you better have some extra fuel on there, man. I don't know how far he's getting before these birds got to take a breather.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, I just thought that was the coolest thing. So that's also a good piece of good news, y'all.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your PIMPcast tip of the day. Today's tip, multitasking is a myth. The brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So what we call multitasking is actually task switching, and we are sacrificing the very things we think we are accomplishing. We lose time because our attention and focus can remain on the previous task for up to 15 minutes. We lose energy because it actually requires additional brain glucose to constantly switch from task to task. And we sacrifice performance and are more prone to mistakes by trying to do two things at once. The benefit of singular focus is that the brain will rewire itself to see patterns and solutions specific to the task at hand. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider, and if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com.
That's my dog right there, man.
Yeah.
See, y'all, this is what I love so much about Eric doing the tip of the day. Number one, it's another perspective. Number two, my man thinks in dimensions, honestly, that you just need them when you need them, because I have been I know already that I can do one thing exceptionally well. And one of my biggest frustrations is when I'm doing said thing and I'm focused on that task and somebody tries to talk to me or interrupt me. Is a very frustrating thing for me because
or exist in the same room.
Yeah. I mean, if you're making noise, if you're doing anything that's disturbing my concentration, that's why maybe I need to put on those sound deadening things, those earphones. Joel Salatin, I talked to him about the very same thing, man. When he's writing a book, dude, it's like, man, only thing he wants to hear, I mean, he doesn't want to, only thing he wants to hear is it's time for lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
So I get it, man. But the second anybody tries to, or if I try, and usually I know that I shouldn't do it the first place. When I try to do anything that is more than one task at a time, I'm going to do it lousy. But I do know that when I'm able to singularly focus on something and give it 100%, I can usually get that done. And then here's another little method I'd learned also from somebody that Eric suggested me to go check out. And I actually learned this a long time ago, but had to relearn it again. You know how you get those lessons that are valuable, then somehow, for some reason, you just forget them. Okay, if you have a problem you can't solve or you feel like you can't, get away from it. Because what's happening, I remember I learned this from Mr. Clay, a high school teacher that I had. Get away from it. And what he told us is that he was a math teacher. He said your subconscious is working on it, even though you don't know about it. And I remember the first time as a kid, as a high school kid, I'm like, good night. I remember there was something some concept, whatever. And I've done that over and over and over throughout the years. Or take it in segments. Go look at it for a little bit. Get your mind off of it completely. Now that's the hard part, not thinking about the thing without obsessing on it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, your subconscious is working on it. It's why when you wake up in the morning, sometimes you got the answer to a problem and it just hits you like a ton of bricks and it seemed obvious. It's the same concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, had tip as always to my man, Eric.
Or the shower.
Yeah. Well, that it comes to a lot of people there. For me in the shower, that's another good time for me to be with the Lord. I'll be honest with you. In the shower lately, like I'm trying to memorize all 150 Psalms.
I'm just trying to get through the cold water.
That's part of that. Well, there's that.
Hard.
Well, I'm in there.
I'm just focusing on breathing.
Well, when I'm in there, that's what I'm trying to do. Also, I'm like, that's one of those areas where I'm able to stack a function because I don't need a whole lot of concentration to take a shower. So I'm also going through like, okay, so I'll recite to myself Psalm 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? And then I go through it in my head and it's just one of my methods of doing it and then doing it repeatedly throughout the day. So if you want to memorize something, maybe I'll talk about that in another program, but there's a lot of cool methods out there. So before we get into the main topic, y'all, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. All the reasons I think you ought to consider one we've cited in every show. But remember, your number one threat out there is lightning. And this is coming from an electrician. Hey, folks, if you don't know, I'm a journeyman electrician, IBEW journeyman electrician. Been one for a long, long time, well over 2 decades. And I got to tell you, number one threat to your house isn't necessarily EMP. It's a lightning strike. These guys got an ironclad guarantee they will cover you up to 25 G's if anything downstream of that EMP shield gets Kentucky fried and laid to the side. So be sure to go check them out as well. All right. So, son, we're going to get into the main topic. You want to tell them who sent it this way?
TD from the Texas Boys.
Well, also the Fearless Podcast, y'all. We've talked about him before, man. TD's like my brother from another mother over there. I would almost call them our sister podcast.
Yeah.
I hope he ain't going to dislike that, man. Or brother podcast.
Brother podcast.
Yeah, man. And this damn TD's probably like, dude, what'd you say, Billy? I mean, he's probably like, nah, we ain't no sister, nothing. Ain't no Mary Ann's on this island. Anyway. Yeah. Son, you don't. It's a joke you don't get.
All right.
Yeah. Gilligan's Island. You never watched that?
I've not even once.
Yeah. Okay. Brady Bunch?
Nope. I mean, well, it was
Partridge Family?
Yeah, okay, so some of those shows were on. When I was a sleep technician, most of the clients were like older people, and they always had TV Land on, and it took about an hour to hook up the wires and all that stuff. So I saw like bits and pieces of whatever they were watching.
Beverly Hillbillies is still one of the funniest of all time. I remember your mom looked at that. I tried to, because she never watched TV growing up. She didn't even know what it was. I played the first Beverly Hillbillies. She didn't even crack a smile. She's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I said, honey, that's because you think it's a documentary. Where she came from.
What was that one with the old guy who sat in the recliner and he had that, I can't think of the guy with the leather jacket, and then there was another, like the guy had a leather jacket and the slick back hair.
Oh, Fonzie?
What's the name of that show? Happy Days. That show had me like dying laughing in that sleep technician lab because I was dying at all the jokes that they were making that they cannot make today.
No, they can't.
I was dying.
Yo, oh man, that's what cracks me. Oh, I'm sure they scrubbed all that from TV too.
Like, what did they just say on TV?
Yeah. I mean, boy, you should see All in the Family. But hey, we're digressing once again. Usually those are some of our best shows. But anyway, let's get right into it. So TD sent us over this video, had an entirely different show plan for today. And then William said, hey, TD sent this over. And I was on my way back from doing some work. And I was like, oh, got to absolutely positively, sorry y'all if you hear the dogs in the background. I was like, dude, I got to cover this.
Yeah.
So check this out. Another Amish family getting dealt with by the government. And folks, this is so egregious, so nasty, so awful. We're just going to let the Amish guy just kind of say it himself.
Yeah, this guy's up in Virginia.
We put up this building. We were not planning on processing meat ourselves. We were doing it a little bit for our family, but we were not planning to do it for our customers. And then we decided we're going to do some USDA inspected because I knew that is technically, to a lot of people's minds, is more legal. So I decided we're going to send it to the USDA facilities, have it slaughtered, butchered there, and bring it back, put it in the freezer and sell that. So now we had two options available. We did sell some of the USDA meat, but it was slow. It was very obvious the customers do want the meat that is processed here on the farm and no USDA inspection. And after the state was here, it was interesting. I told the office manager to do a survey from the customers if they want me to send our animals to USDA and have it US inspected, or if they want me to process it here myself. The survey came back around 92% of the customers wanted me to process here on the farm, sell it right here off the farm.
What are the costs to take it to the nearest facility, and how far away would that be?
That's around 2 hours of driving, and the cost to take it over there is a lot. It depends if you can do a lot at one time. If you can do a trailer load at one time, say 4 cows and 5 pigs or something like that, cost for all that would probably be $500. But it's hard for us to ship so many animals at one time, process all those, bring the meat back, and have that in stock. By the time the meat comes back, you might be running low on certain cuts of meat, but what you ordered from USDA was not accurate to that. You might run out of some stuff long before other stuff because you had to order it so far in advance. Plus then the pandemic came, and then you had to schedule your animals around 8 to 12 months ahead of time. Well, that was super hard to predict so far ahead how much I actually need to process. At that time, pandemic came, stores weren't open, stores were running out of food, customers were starting to buy heavily. All of a sudden, we had a lot of need for meat. Well, there was no option taking it to USDA facility, so that's when the trigger pushed to do it ourselves. Customers were buying mostly from our own meat, not so much from the USDA. Then the pandemic came, and there was no other option but either not have it available or process it ourselves. So we started processing ourselves. We put addition to the building and made a processing room, and we certainly like it now. Then the state came in and asked what we're doing, and I told them exactly what we're doing. We're selling meat to our customers, and they said, no, there's no way around it. You can't do that. They asked permission to get in here. I did not give them permission to come in here, and they told me we'll be back and left. The next day they came with a search warrant, went through everything, house, every building in the barn. They just raided through everything, put their nose in everything, and wanted to know every detail of everything. They went out back, trying to find all the failure they can find on a farm, which of course, some of their stuff, which they think is wrong, is just normal stuff on the farm. They were here for like 3-4 hours. I wasn't on the farm at the time. And then they tagged the meat so that we can't touch it, we can't sell it, we can't feed our family with it, we can't do anything with it. To me, that was quite wrong, that we can't feed our family with it, or at least give it to people. I even made a special phone call to ask him again if that's the way it is. He said, yes, you cannot feed your family with it. You cannot do anything with it. I decided, this ain't right. We're going to feed our family. We're going to feed our customers. We did not honor that tag. We sold the meat. We sold some meat out of there, whatever customers ordered. Then the state came back and they saw what we did. Really gave me a mouthful for doing that. But basically what they did was they took it to court. They took a lot of pictures of whatever they could here at the farm to find evidence that we're slaughtering and selling raw meat, and took it to court in order to seize the product and put it in the dump. Later that day, they came out here with the U-Haul truck, backed it right off here to the door, and took 2 men 4 hours to get it out. And they just loaded it on the U-Haul truck and took it out to a dump and dumped everything out. And they got all the meat except pet food and wild game packs of ground turkey.
How are you going to tell me I can't eat my own meat?
This is exactly, when I heard this, I was infuriated. Absolutely infuriated, because when you sent it to me from TD, I'm sitting here thinking, hold on, man, am I hearing this? I had to back this thing up. I'm driving down the road and only half the speakers work in that truck right now. So I'm like, man, hold on. Am I hearing this right? And then I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? There's no way we're not talking about this on this podcast. What are you going to do when they come for you? I mean, yeah, I know that's something of a song and a cliche now, but really, what you going to do? Because at the end of the day, what I see going on, y'all, this is absolute tyranny. They are doing every single, when I say they, you know who they are. It ain't a red state. It ain't a blue state. It's a state against you. And I'm sick of it. And nobody seems to care. It's like I am wondering where the shoe drops that anybody even cares anymore. So this is an Amish farmer. You hear about this all the time. So he dropped off, you got another guy over here, drops off raw milk. They put him in the pokey in federal pen. You got another guy do the same thing because he interstate commerce, took it across state lines. But you got no problem with Epstein taking these babies across state lines. You got no problem with all these prostitutes in Washington. Yeah, and also the politicians doing who knows what. Yeah, that's the one thing they left out of that movie that became something of a blockbuster. You got no problem with them taking these kids across national lines, across our border down south to do who knows what up here in our country. Got no problem with that, but you're going to dog an Amish guy because he's selling meat to his neighbors.
Who preferred, and it's not like he was even tricking anybody into thinking, oh, this came from the USDA. This has been inspected and approved. He sent out a survey. 92% of his customers preferred the stuff that he processed on the farm. That's what they wanted. 92% of his customers.
Folks, you hear me say it all the time. You better wake up and smell the corruption or you're going to fall asleep drinking the hemlock because it's here. It's no longer, this is a man growing food for his own family. And you got to start asking yourself. You got to start, because I got feelings, I got thoughts that I can't say publicly right now. You know what I'm saying? Because it's getting to that point. They're screwing with the water. They're screwing with the food. They're using directed energy weapons all over who knows where.
I think Wrangler Star would say act accordingly. Well, you might not know the reference, but a lot of people see the Instagram shorts. Civil disobedience. That's another thing this guy is doing is civil disobedience because he's still producing meat and processing it and selling it. And then they come out and wipe him out again. He lasted like 2 weeks this last time. And then he just keeps on going.
Well, Robert Barnes, the great attorney, apparently is going to be working with him. Folks, there is a point. There is an absolute point. It's like Joel Salatin says over and over. How is it you and I can go to a church function and bring a casserole apiece, and that's completely fine, but I can't sell it to you? I can't sell it out of a food truck. I mean, folks, I think it's getting to the point. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. There are things as such, there's such a thing as unjust laws. Okay, remember what Martin Luther King was fighting against, supposedly? There are other laws. I don't care if you say this is the law or whatever. There is such a thing as jury nullification. So if you find yourself in that position where you see somebody, I'm hoping they pick me for jury duty one day and I can nullify.
Nobody's ever said that before.
I hope. No, I've already done it. I've sat on a jury once before.
I'm saying nobody's ever said, I hope they pick me for jury duty.
No. I if you do, and I sit in that jury and you got a person in there for a crime that ain't a crime, I don't care what evidence you got, nephew, you're walking, because that's such a thing as jury nullification. You can do that if you find yourself in judgment of somebody. Now, the one time I did sat as a juror, the guy was as guilty as a cat in a goldfish bowl, man. So he needed to go off to the pokey. I mean, and it was a pretty heinous crime, but I won't get into that. So, number one, if you find yourself in a jury for somebody like this, remember this conversation. Number two, I don't know. He's up there in Virginia. Depends on where in Virginia he is as to whether or not he could even get a fair trial, if it even came to that. But the fact that they are taking his food, you're going to show up. You know, what happened? Okay, so we got the Third Amendment to the Constitution. What does that say? Prohibits the quartering of troops in peacetime and limits it in the time of war. This is just a modern day version of that. This is why it was put in the Constitution. This is another illegal search and seizure. There's another one. How many different constitutional rights are clearly violated?
Yeah, I mean, they're messing with his livelihood as well. I mean, this is how this guy makes money. This is like his income.
Nobody reported being sick.
Nobody reported being sick.
In fact, the very opposite. They were saying, look, man, this crap in the store makes me sick.
Yeah.
I need your food. I need the milk you produce. I need the meat. I need all this stuff. Folks, it's going to happen. They're probably going to come. I mean, just send my mail to the county jail because I'm not complying with any of this garbage. You're going to sit here and tell this man he can't feed his family?
Yeah. He has a go give send go.
Yeah.
We'll link it
We're
down
going
in
to
the
give some of that.
description.
We're definitely going to give to this guy. And we all, I mean, I know there's a Farmers Defense Fund out there, which I need to really get signed up for. Really need to get those people on. I remember Joel he had recommended them before as well. But y'all, I'm trying to tell you, seriously, it is getting to that point. We're not as easy to kill, apparently, as a people that they thought. They thought, okay, this would do, that would do. Well, now they're doing a full court press on all of our food. What happened to the grain crop? What happened to the corn crop? What happened to the rice crop over there? What's happening to the grain in Ukraine of all places? Bread basket, okay? What's happening over here? And now they're coming down like a ton of meat, ton of bricks on all of our food. And then check this out. Talked to one of my old Army friends, Anthony. I think it was last week. I might have even mentioned it on the podcast where he's telling me up in Massachusetts where he lives. I want to say that he said the governor basically said he went into the commissary because he's a retiree. Mm-hmm. He goes into the commissary up there at one of the PXs or the commissary, I guess. And talking to the meat manager, and he's like, dude, I don't even think we're going to be able to carry pork in here no more. He's like, why? He says, governor, well, basically said, look, the animal doesn't have X amount of square feet. We can't, if it doesn't have a humane life or whatever, basically the same crap they're pulling out in Oregon, that we can't legally sell it in this state. And I'm like, what?
Oh, like if it doesn't die of natural causes and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there won't even be hams up in there. He's like, dude, this is unbelievable. I don't even know.
You wanted to kickstart a revolution. Take Anthony's food away.
Boy, I'm telling you what, man. Yeah, that's not the guy you want to go starving, bro. And honestly, he made the best barbecue chicken we ever had.
Still, yeah.
Still. I mean, that was off the hook. But anyway, you mess with this big Italian's food, man, you're going to have a problem. But he's saying, dude, the guy's telling him at the commissary up there in Massachusetts, folks, they're hitting you 30 ways to Sunday. You have got to fight.
A quick little side tangent real quick. The entire flights from here to Arizona and every stop in between, every single place was hazy. Every single place was hazy. Arizona was hazy. And whenever I met the client out there, she had said when they visited in February, they could clearly see all the mountain ranges around them. Couldn't see. I mean, you could see, like, you knew there were mountains out there in the distance, but it wasn't like clear or any kind of detail. But the entire way from Arizona to Denver, the whole way back, it was hazy. And I flew during the day so I could open up the window and look out, and it was hazy the entire time.
Yeah, and they've been spraying nonstop, just like it was hazy like they had never seen before above Hawaii.
Yeah.
So,
there was the cloud layer, the cloud level, and then there was like this thick haze level, and there were no breaks in the haze or anything like that.
That's part of the reason why I'm thinking, maybe part of the reason why everybody's going on about the armaments that the Russians have. Well, they also know that we have directed energy weapons. They saw it on 9/11.
Yeah.
They just saw it in Hawaii. They saw it in California. They know we're doing this to ourselves, or at least the powers that shouldn't be are doing that to us. And now here we are. Folks, they're doing a full court press on our food. We cannot comply. Now, I'm not talking to the little Marchies out there that are just going to go hook, line, and sinker into whatever, into that jet and go into that good night. Look, it ain't happening here. Like I said, you're just going to have to send my mail to the county jail. I'm not complying.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and then it's going to get to a point where they're going to go to the wrong old boy. Just like Alexander Solzhenitsyn said. He was a guy, Gulag Archipelago. I remember one of the crazy things that made me hate communism was a book, A Day in the Life of Dazan Desonovich Shukov. I can't remember exactly what it was. And you read this stuff, and you read what he wrote about communism. When you read what happened there, you would be like, what kind of person? I can see at the top them wanting communism, but the man on the street, why would you ever advocate such a thing? And you got to remember what Solzhenitsyn said, that even though they were disarmed, that if the people kicking in those doors knew that there might have been a high probability of whoever's on the inside of that door swinging back with a shovel or anything else, it would have put an end to all that.
Yeah.
It would have put an end to it all. But everybody, you know, adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. We've been prosperous for a long time, y'all.
Well, I've been waiting for, like you were saying earlier, they're going to come across that wrong good old boy one of these times. I'm waiting kind of for that to happen so they can make another Waco example of homesteaders.
Exactly. That's who they're going to demonize. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, every single mass shooting, every single time, there's always calling cards there like it's not what they tell you it is.
Right.
Everybody that does it is always hooked up on some kind of serotonin drug, them reuptake inhibitors. It's always the same thing every single time. Folks, we're to the point right now, we are long past it. I thought, you know, what is the jump off point? I don't know where the bottom is anymore. I really don't. Yeah. I don't know where the bottom is where people will say, look, man, I've had enough of this. I'm not putting up with it. You're not doing this to my kids. You're not going to do it to me. You're not doing it to anybody. And not complying. I mean, there were members of our family that came to visit during the whole COVID thing and were kind of disappointed at me because I refused to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah, as if we're missing out because we refuse to wear a mask.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not playing your game. I'm not playing. It's like the trans testicle out there that wants me to pretend that he needs a pap smear. You know? Yeah, ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen, y'all. Like I said, you better stand up, y'all. I mean, and I mean that in the most massive way.
It's time to eat. I don't want it discreet. What I am cooking, I keep it a vibe, even a sheet. Not here to make friends. Rent free in their heads. They don't like what I say, so they say that I work for the fans. When you're out of the box for the truth, they call you a side, cause what they assume is unpaid opposition, cause I see things like Andrew Tate as a spoon. To me, it's easy to see like tearing down women.
All right, so back to the Q&A, y'all. Look, we always say stay alert, stay alive, y'all. You better be thinking about your plan B. You might want to think about caches. You might want to think about all those preparedness tools that everybody just seems to be kind of forgetting about right now. Take real good stock of the world we live in. By no means get yourself caught up in any fear, but, you know, stay alert to all this stuff that's going on, y'all. We're going to have to fight. Ain't no two ways about it. And if you think you're just going to stay silent in the background in the hopes that they get to you last, well, they do eventually get to you. All right, so we got one here from John. Hello, Billy. I'm still slowly working my way through the backlog of PIMPcast. And just heard you and William mention episode 87. The Stihl chainsaws are great, and they're all made in Germany. In a nutshell, basically, I couldn't agree more. I mean, he's saying that, yeah, they are. I mean, he says, I'm sure someone has already let you know, but it's made in America in Virginia Beach. It's still German owned, but I think, you know, at the end of the day, if they're still doing, you know, if they're doing it with German engineering, which are probably the best, I'm cool with that. So anyway, speaking on the heels of what we just talked about, he was saying that basically we helped to inspire their family getting their food stores together. And folks, we all gonna have to. We're gonna have to. And just remember, it was 8 people on that ark. So just because it's family doesn't make it good to it. When this thing drops, and it will drop, just be mindful who you got around you and your stores and who knows what's there.
Yeah. I don't have any questions from the PIMPcast, not because nobody left them, but because the Fountain app, not from the PIMPcast, from the Fountain app, is like glitchy right now. It's not showing me any of the stuff that it usually. Yeah. I don't know if they updated the app or what, but it's not popping.
Well,
up like
I ran
usual.
into a guy, I told you before, apparently it's only happening with us.
Oh,
for some reason.
Well, yeah, it usually shows me like the boost in the comments and stuff, and I can click on that, but it's not showing me this time. But I got some from the YouTube channel, Permaculture PIMPcast. Check us out there. Gaffrig says, seek legal advice about going to Africa to train/participate in arming the population. I don't know.
Wait, say that again now?
They're saying seek legal advice about going to Africa to train/participate in arming the population.
Yeah, I actually did. I hooked up with my friend Thomas, who's actually been living over there. He's married to a lady in Uganda.
Yeah.
And he knew, I mean, it's funny because when I was on the phone with him, number one, it was really great. He was another old friend all the way back from high school that I've known. And he lives over there in Uganda, and he and his wife are over here 6 months right now in Oklahoma, and they can't wait to get back to Uganda quick enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he gave me a lot of good, solid information. I'm going to link up with those ladies again, but he actually suggested that we do a demonstration site in Uganda and bring the people from the Congo over to see that site.
Oh yeah, and plant trees.
Yeah. Get his site squared away. So, but no, honestly, I thought it was a pretty sensible thing. But he was like, dude, I would not go unless you have an armed security team. He's like, dude, even just getting across the border is sketchy. And he told me some things that wasn't really told to me by them.
Oh yeah.
But I trust him. He's over there. His wife's from there, and I spent a fair amount of time talking to him, catching up. And, I was like, I mean, what does that say? He's like, dude, the
Dad's
people
over
over
here turning into the machine gun preacher.
Hey, man, it has crossed my mind. But I'm like, dude, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was going to, and then there's people I got friends in special, U.S. Army Special Forces. They could get me a little further along in this information too. And the information I'm finding out is it would almost certainly be better, if at all possible, to do a demonstration site in a safe place, bring them over to get trained. I mean, it doesn't make sense to go put a demonstration site in a combat zone for the marauders to do it when you got no way to protect the know-how.
Yeah.
But I can show you how to do a clandestine food forest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you could test out your little clandestine chicken tractor too.
Oh yeah. There's also, they're going to need some different kind of chickens though.
Yeah. Got one from, is it your turn or my turn? I got one from Lynn Jasmine. As far as the deer, we live in a heavily populated deer area and state. 3 cars later, I bought the deer whistles for my grill. Actually put not 1 pair, but 2 pair on my grill. So far, so good. And then she goes on to say soil. The last 2 fruit trees I planted should be amazing then because it was like a brick. Haha, following your planting guide. I'm guessing she's referring to the soil was like a brick. I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
about
I guess
that.
we lost a little bit in translation there. But
the deer whistles, I didn't think they actually worked. I didn't think that was legit.
Well, it was funny because my buddy Mike, he put some on his truck, dude, and hit him the first day he had it on. So I don't know. Some people say they work great, and some folks not so much. But I've heard, I don't know, maybe equal amounts of people that say they work, as many people that say they don't.
I bet they don't work around. That one deer that keeps crossing the road just up the road from us is bold. It doesn't even. It's like lazy about how it crosses the road.
I think a lot of these folks are feeding them right now, but as soon as deer season rolls around, believe me, they're going to get scud. They're going to scoot. Hey, Billy, I was at college today and messing with some things with my schedule, so I had to see my advisor. Long story short, I went in there and to get the problem fixed, and the advisor asked, well, what do you plan on doing with this 2-year degree? What universities are you going to? I said, none. I'm finishing this degree I started this year, and basically he told the counselor that he's going to do a PDC. And of course, the counselor there is like, never heard of it. I think it's a really bad idea. You need to go off to a 4-year university. And he said, I guess you didn't know I'm talking to a pimp. Bam.
Oh.
So,
guess you didn't hear.
Yeah, in case you didn't know. But no, I mean, honestly, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but, and, maybe college to a certain extent has its place. But honestly, folks, a lot of times go read what the curriculum is and then go get yourself some books at the public library.
I'm not saying everybody should drop out of college, but if you're listening to the PIMPcast, you should drop out of college.
Well, depending on if you want to be a nurse, you want to be an engineer, you want to be an MD, you want to be a naturopath, you want to be a chiropractor. Yeah, okay, you're going to need some of what they offer there. Probably help a little bit. Outside of that, I'm sure there's some other examples that I missed out on. Engineering, all the way around.
Engineering. I'm sure. Is there not a route to test out?
I don't know. I mean, what I do know, you're probably going to need some training on some of that stuff, and you're going to need some OJT.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get down to it, y'all, the bottom line is, when it comes to this stuff, ask yourself what you want to do, and does college paying out the nose for a degree and worth, like over here at Mars Hill University, have them kids I talk to you when I'm in the gym are getting degrees in worthlessness.
Oh yeah, I went to the gym today, and I guess they brought school back or something. I don't know, but that
not
school
quite,
was
almost.
Well, the school was packed, and I could see there was this guy and his mom's, I'm guessing. I don't know what was going on, but they were all taking a tour of the school and stuff, and I had a strong urge to tell them run, but I didn't.
Yeah, when I talk to the kids over there, 9 times out of 10, when I have any conversations with them, it's always some degree that you already know you are not going to do anything with.
Yep.
And, is it worth it? I mean, if you're there on I guess if you're getting a scholarship and you're not paying for anything, that's one thing. But if you're in here paying for a degree in basket weaving, I don't know what you hope to do with it.
And you can actually get that degree not too far from here.
Yeah. Well, you can get a PhD understanding to it, just become an autodidact. All right, so my man Rickard, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he says, "Hello, your Swedish comrade." Yeah, I loved his response from the last time. Like, dude, I don't dig your politics, but it's all good. Anyway, I like this dude. He says, "I have a compost question. I think it's best to ask the permaculture pimp. I'm starting some new garden beds here before next summer. Can I compost in place in a raised bed, or over the winter, or they have good compost when the growing season starts? Just mix my brown and green and leave it till spring?"
That's awesome that you asked, and you're from Sweden. That's going to be cool because you're going to have some awesome compost, especially if you start now. You're going to have awesome compost in those raised beds by the time spring rolls around next year.
Well, you might want to tell them what you're talking about.
So the fastest observed composting scenario is whenever there's snowpack on top of organic matter. It's like the perfect environment under there it's like perfect temperature for the microbes. The snow like melts enough to keep everything perfectly hydrated, and it's the fastest composting conditions. So if you take your raised beds and you layer your compost materials within that raised bed, and then, you're in Sweden, you're going to get snow, and let that just sit over the winter. Next spring, by the time all that thaws, you should have some pretty bomb compost in there.
Yeah, it will have your microbes, provided you didn't do a bunch of foolish things and put down things that'll kill the microbes in your soil. But yeah, you could do either. In fact, if you can, do both. Do both. Can you compost in place? Absolutely. You can do that. You can chop and drop what you have there. I'm not sure what situation you're working with. You could just put a bunch of carbon down there and just let it be.
You could sheet mulch with it, do like a real thick sheet mulch, or lasagna mulch or whatever you want to call it in your raised bed, and just let that break down over winter.
Absolutely. That's why if you feed animals hay throughout the winter, that's like some of the spots that we're working on, we are definitely going. In fact, we're picking up some organic stuff tomorrow.
Which is ridiculous that you have to say that.
Yeah. When I say organic, it's hay with no garbage sprayed on it. And also some straw that we got to use for an experiment. But yeah, that's when that stuff breaks down the most, is if you can get that snowpack, like William said, through the winter. Rickard, I would do both if you could, but if you wanted to do the more laissez-faire approach to it, I would definitely do it in place. You definitely get enough snowpack over there to where that is a great place to compost.
Yeah, please take pictures. I want to see the before and after on that one.
Yeah, that
would be cool.
That would be cool to see.
I got one from Stubbs Milling Co. on the YouTube channel. "This tooth is out of me and healed. We are working on buying some land myself. I have several 12-acre plots I'm looking at, but getting time to go look at them is difficult at the moment. Hope to go look at a few this weekend. Take it easy, fellas." That's awesome.
Yeah, speaking of land, I was chatting back and forth with my man Ike. Him writing that just made me think about what Ike was saying, because we've actually been looking around at several different things. Right now, the things that we got some stuff that's really close that we're looking into. So look, y'all, we ask you to pray for us on that regarding that whole thing too.
Yeah.
So Robert says, I do capture as much rainwater as possible, but we only have a half inch of rain here in the last 60 days. We are having to use city water to water the garden and the compost pile. The city water with the chlorine killing the microbes in the garden and the compost pile. Son, you want to answer that?
Well, yeah, it is.
And he's in Abilene too. He's in Abilene, Texas, yeah. So there's a good chance there's a lot of junk in that water.
Well, yeah. But also being in like a mostly arid environment, it's going to take a while before any of that goes away either in your soil. So what you could do is fill up like a tank or do a rainwater catchment tank and stuff like that. And if you did the rainwater catchment, then you don't have to worry about treating the water. Or you could take humic acid and just add enough humic acid to the water, like if you put it in a bucket, until the color changes, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that'll take care of your issues concerning any of the city water problems and the junk they put in it. That the chlorines, the chloramines, that'll all be helped. So like William said, when it comes to humic acid, you want to get some stuff that's decent. Whatever you're filling up, make sure you look at the directions and see how much but you want to put enough in there to where you can see a slight color change, and then you know that all those things are neutralized. But
it's a very small amount. It doesn't take much at all.
But a lot of times I've seen also and I haven't tested this, but some people have said if they can somehow aerate the stream, it gets a lot of the chlorine out. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not.
You can also just fill up a bucket and leave it out for like 24 hours. Or there's another one where you can add vitamin C or something like that. But that's just the fulvic acid method, isn't it?
I would definitely go with the humic acid.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of different methods is the point. Got one from, what's up? Got one from Janu. Why would big elderberry flower not have any berries or have very poor berry production?
Man, I do not know.
I mean, it's soil. I would say the soil or your elderberry isn't very old. Could be one or the other, because the first 2 years we had our elderberries, they didn't produce. But they're producing this year, actually. Actually, I ate one of the berries while I was down there.
You want to be careful about some of that.
The elderberries? Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, you don't want to just go eating a handful of them.
I didn't. I just took one.
Yeah, that's about as far as you want to go for right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what a raw elderberry tasted like. And then I got one from Trippin' Billy. He's got 2 comments here. America is tired of the 40-hour work week. It's played out. Money, money, money. We are innocent victims of their money machine.
Well, I mean, I guess the idea then is to get yourself really into a career that isn't a job.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the 40-hour work week is the issue. I would say you're in the wrong career.
Yeah, because I'm not exaggerating when I say I work over 100 hours a week.
Y'all, it's almost 9 o'clock right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're
recording a podcast.
Right, and there's still work to do. I got microscope work to do. I mean, there's still you got to get a job to where what looks like work to other people is fun to you. That's really the key, I think, in so many different ways. Now, for me, permaculture is my passion, and being able to bundle that passion into something that means something to me, making these awesome relationships, getting to evangelize this great design science, and getting to tell the world about, my love for Jesus. Something I had to come back to. These are all these things that require doing something you love. Now, there may be a time in your life, because I did it, doing something for the money, to be able to do what I love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it took. I mean, it took doing, first of all, living a low consumption lifestyle, and then formatting our lives saying, okay, what's important? What isn't? All right, we're going to get rid of everything that isn't important. Not going to get in any foolish debt. And so get out of what I was doing, even though I loved working with the guys. I mean, those guys are great. And then, but at the same time, I mean, I love being around. I love the work I was doing. I love all that stuff. But there was a lot of it I didn't love. At the end of the day, you're at somebody else's mercy when you're working for somebody else.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the one to screw up and lose something than just, like I was talking a minute ago about my friend Dustin, where all the people that actually built that place, they fired.
Yeah, I believe
and
it.
replaced them with hatchet men that are really, I mean, honestly, I'm not that shocked when he said who they were, but I mean, the point being is find yourself in a position of where you're not even looking at the clock.
Yeah.
When I was working out there, I'm dead serious. Like you ask anybody what their second favorite part of the day is, it's lunchtime.
Because they're taking a break from work?
Yeah.
And the first part is getting home?
Yeah. Number one, the favorite part is leaving that job.
Yeah.
So the idea is to get yourself in the point where you're not even looking at the hours, because I don't. I don't. Do you?
Well, yeah, because you have to. You have to to some extent, I'm not late for everything.
I'm not, okay, when you're a union electrician, you're honestly, you're doing what you got to do, but you know when it's time to go to break.
Yeah, y'all will also notice that I am never late, and Dad is always late.
When am I late?
Every single time.
So I ain't been late in a grip.
Ask TD. When's the last time you've been late, Dad?
I was right on time.
No.
You asked
Dad
TD.
is-
I was on time for that
is
interview.
always late.
All right, y'all. Hopefully that's all been a blessing to you. Sorry if I went a little sideways in the beginning there, but hopefully you got a laugh out of some of those practical jokes. In fact, hey, if y'all pull any of those, let me know, and you can't blame me. So until next time, y'all stay alert.
Stay alive.